The hippopotamus was already close, but what concerned the hunting party most was not just its location. The real question was how close they could get before the situation changed. Facing such a powerful, unpredictable animal that could react at any moment, distance marked the line between opportunity and danger. From the moment they left the camp, every movement was made in complete silence. Even the smallest sound could bring the hunt to an early end. Hippo hunting usually begins at first light, when the water is still calm and the tracks from the previous night remain visible. During the night, hippos leave the water to feed, leaving deep footprints in the mud. The group moved quietly, watching the ground while paying close attention to the wind and their distance from the riverbank. As the tracks became fresher, they slowed their pace, circled with the terrain, and used the bushes for cover while keeping a safe distance. As the hippo tracks became fresher, everyone immediately slowed down. The deep prints in the mud showed that the animal had passed through only moments earlier. As soon as it came into view, no one moved. The opportunity lasted only a few seconds, and when the moment arrived, one decisive action broke the silence. Everything happened quickly, precisely, and under intense tension. But the hunt was far from over. After leaving the riverbank, the group moved into drier ground and soon found another set of large tracks pressed into the hard earth, showing that a rhinoceros had recently passed by. Unlike the hippo, the rhinoceros moves more slowly but is extremely alert. A single unfamiliar sound can make it change direction or react dangerously. Following the rhino's trail, the group did not spend long in pursuit. They kept a safe distance, checked the wind, and quickly moved to higher ground to locate the animal. When the rhino appeared among the low bushes, everyone quietly spread out. No one approached head-on or acted too quickly. With such a massive and powerful animal, a single mistake could send the entire situation out of control. The decisive moment came when the rhino stepped into a more open area. The opportunity would not last long, as the animal could turn away or disappear into the brush at any moment. When the right moment arrived, they acted without hesitation. After the most intense seconds had passed, the group quickly resumed its steady pace, because the hunt is only complete once the result is safely brought back to camp. Back at the camp, Those who had stayed behind had already prepared everything.
Back at camp,
Dry firewood was stacked, the fire was burning, and the cooking tools were in their usual places. As the hunters returned with their catch, everyone joined in without needing instructions. Some prepared the meat, others tended the fire, while the rest arranged the seasonings and cooking area. Every movement followed a simple and efficient routine passed down through generations. Before long, the smell of roasted meat filled the air, blending with the crackling fire and conversations around the camp.
Diet consists of dozens and dozens of different...
The cooked pieces were taken off at just the right time, torn apart by hand, and shared among everyone. The children received the best portions first, while the adults naturally accepted their share. There were no fixed recipes or exact measurements. Everything relied on experience, instinct, and careful observation. The meal restored their strength and strengthened the bonds of the community. As the sun slowly set over the savannah, the tension of the hunt faded away. Everyone gathered together to share food, talk, and bring another day to a peaceful close. Nothing more than necessary was saved for tomorrow, because life here follows the rhythm of nature, where each day begins with the search for food and ends with whatever nature is willing to provide. If you enjoyed this journey, let us know in the comments which moment impressed you the most, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Across the vast African savannas, the Hadzabe people still maintain a way of life that has changed very little over tens of thousands of years. They have no electricity, running water, or stored food. As one of the few remaining hunter-gatherer communities in the world, their mornings do not begin with comfort, but with a very practical question. What will nature provide today to help them keep surviving? Every day for the Hadzabe is filled with uncertainty. No one knows where the next meal will come from or whether the hunt will be successful. But for them, this is not just a way to survive. It is also a deep connection to the land that has fed their ancestors for generations. Each sunrise opens a new journey, testing their patience, experience, and ability to adapt. Before entering the savannah, Hadzabe men calmly prepare bows and arrows made from simple materials. Each bow is carefully carved, while the arrowheads are crafted with precision and coated with poison extracted from native plants. Every step requires long experience, because even one small mistake can cause the entire hunt to fail. For the Hadzabe, bows and arrows are not merely tools for finding food. They are the result of knowledge, skill, and observation passed down through many generations. The bow in their hands does not represent brute strength. Instead, it reflects a deep understanding of materials, prey, and the surrounding environment. When everything is ready, the hunters quietly leave the camp and begin following the tracks of an antelope herd across the dry ground. Along the way, they observe every fresh footprint, every newly bitten branch, and even the smallest signs that outsiders would easily overlook. No one rushes. They move slowly, remain silent, and read the ground like a familiar book. After many hours of tracking, the hunters finally get close to the prey. When the distance is close enough, an arrow leaves the bowstring, cuts through the air, and strikes the animal. But the hunt does not end with that single shot. The hunters continue watching calmly, knowing that the poison on the arrowhead needs time to take effect. Silently, they follow the blood trail, the footprints, and the direction in which the animal moved until they finally find the prey. For the Hadzabe, success is not only about an accurate shot, but also about patience and the experience to read every trace. While the men are hunting, women and children set out to search for wild tubers, forest fruits, and honey. This knowledge is not written in books. It is passed down naturally through every journey and every real experience. Children learn by watching adults recognize edible plants, find beehives, and understand what nature can provide to help the community get through each day. If the hunt is unsuccessful, wild tubers and honey become an important food source for the whole community. Thanks to this, the Hadzabe do not depend on only one type of food. When the sun sets, everyone returns to the camp with what they have gathered that day. Some days bring plenty, while others bring very little, but no one becomes easily disappointed. They understand that nature promises nothing and only gives what humans are able to receive. The meal is quickly prepared beside the fire. There are no complicated recipes or expensive spices, but every dish reflects the balance between humans and nature. Most importantly, food is always shared with the entire community, from the elderly to small children. This spirit of sharing has helped them survive through countless generations in a harsh environment. When night falls, the fire becomes the center of the camp, where people eat, talk, rest, and sometimes dance after a long day. For the Hadzabe, every hunt means far more than a single meal. It is also a living lesson for the next generation, showing that experience can be just as valuable as any weapon. They survive not by conquering nature, but by listening to it, adapting to it, and respecting it. If you found this story interesting, leave a comment about what impressed you most about the Hadzabe way of life.
Between the arid lands surrounding Lake Eyasi in Tanzania, the Hadza people continue to preserve a way of life that has endured for tens of thousands of years. They are among the very few remaining hunter-gatherer communities in the world, where nature is both the source of survival and the greatest teacher. Rather than accumulating wealth or trying to conquer the natural world, they spend each day learning to adapt to whatever this land provides. Every hunt begins in an atmosphere of almost complete silence. The hunters crouch low, their footsteps barely disturbing the grass as they study even the faintest signs. Today, their target is a swift and highly alert wildcat. When an arrow leaves the bow and strikes the animal, it does not collapse immediately, but disappears into the thick brush. For the Hadza, this is exactly what they expect. Their arrows are often coated with poison derived from native plants, a toxin that does not kill the prey instantly, but gradually weakens it, allowing the hunters to patiently follow its trail. Nature is not generous every day. When larger game cannot be found, they readily turn to hunting birds or smaller animals instead. Although these catches provide only modest amounts of meat, every opportunity helps supply the energy they need to survive. Rather than placing all their hopes on a single hunt, the Hadza reduce risk by pursuing multiple smaller targets. It is this strategy that helps ensure their survival in an ever-changing environment.
He's filling in.
Some days are even more demanding, especially when the target is a large monitor lizard living near a water source or hidden deep inside hollow trees. These powerful reptiles can fight back fiercely, so the hunters always keep a safe distance, observe carefully, and approach only when they are certain the animal can no longer defend itself. To them, hunting is not a race of speed, but a lesson in patience and self-control. While the men make their way through the forest, The women at camp quietly carry out responsibilities that are no less important. They dig for edible roots, gather wild fruits, prepare food, and care for the children. These daily routines form the stable foundation of the entire community. The children grow up surrounded by nature, watching the adults every day and learning survival skills as a natural part of life rather than through formal lessons. One of the most memorable hunts is the pursuit of a kudu antelope. The lead hunter kneels beside a fresh footprint, carefully examines it, then picks up a piece of fresh dung to determine how recently the animal passed by. Every footprint, every blade of flattened grass, and even a tiny drop of blood becomes a valuable clue. When the final arrow strikes its target, the antelope still charges forward with astonishing speed. The chase continues until the exhausted animal finally comes to a stop in the open savanna. Only then do the hunters move in to complete the hunt safely. On their way back, one of the hunters suddenly discovers a wild beehive hidden inside the trunk of a large tree. With just a few skillful swings of an axe, golden sheets of beeswax and streams of glistening honey are revealed. The honey is shared immediately, providing a precious source of energy after the long journey. When the antelope is brought back to camp, the entire community quickly gathers together. Without anyone giving instructions, everyone knows exactly what to do. The meat is divided into portions, then roasted over the fire or cooked into a simple soup. Everyone sits together in a circle, passing food from one person to another and sharing a meal. Songs, rhythmic clapping, and ancient stories fill the air around the fire, preserving the community's collective memory from one generation to the next. The Hadzabe's way of life is not the result of never having encountered the modern world, but of choosing to preserve the values that have sustained their ancestors for thousands of years. They take only what they truly need from nature, share generously within the community, and avoid unnecessary accumulation. In a world that is constantly chasing more, faster, and bigger, the Hadzabe way of life invites us to reflect on a profound question. Perhaps happiness is found not in possessing more, but in living in harmony with nature and appreciating the things that matter most.
Dawn gradually spread across the savanna and sparse woodland, bringing the cool air of a new day. A herd of wild boars left their resting place and slowly moved across the grasslands and low bushes in search of food, constantly using their snouts to dig through the soft soil for roots, tubers, and small creatures beneath the ground. Back at the camp, the tribal hunters also woke early to prepare for the day's hunt. They carefully checked their bows, arrows, knives, and ropes to ensure every tool was ready for the journey ahead. After completing their preparations, the entire group quietly left the camp and headed into the vast savanna to begin another day of hunting in the wilderness. The tribal hunters crossed wide grasslands and sparse woodland while carefully examining every animal track left in the soil. Before long, they discovered fresh footprints along with patches of recently disturbed earth. Following these signs, they soon found a herd of wild boars foraging beneath low bushes. The boars constantly rooted through the ground, moved in small groups, and repeatedly looked around their surroundings. The hunters stopped at a safe distance, silently observing the herd's movements and studying the terrain. After identifying a favorable position, they split into several groups and quietly prepared to approach their targets. One adult wild boar gradually became separated from the herd while busily digging for food near an open patch of ground. Using tall grass and small trees as cover, the tribal hunters silently closed the distance without making any noise. When the boar reached a favorable position, one hunter quickly drew his bow and fired the first arrow. Wounded, the wild boar immediately sprinted across the grassland and thick bushes at remarkable speed. The hunters relentlessly pursued it while repeatedly firing more arrows at the fleeing animal. After being struck by several arrows, the boar gradually weakened, slowed down, and finally collapsed. The hunters quickly approached and secured their prey.
Yeah, go I think.
While the men continued hunting across the savannah, the women left the camp carrying their familiar digging tools to search for wild tubers. They walked across patches of soft soil and gradually unearthed many tubers buried deep beneath the ground. After gathering enough, they headed back to the camp. Along the way, they also collected dry branches and small pieces of firewood to use as fuel. Upon returning, several women immediately lit the fire, cleaned the dirt from the tubers, and placed them in the hot embers to roast. While waiting for the tubers to finish roasting, the others walked to a nearby water source and filled their gourds before carrying them back to the camp. Once the roasted tubers were ready, everyone enjoyed a small portion to satisfy their hunger while continuing to wait for the hunting party to return. Before long, the hunters emerged from the savannah carrying the wild boar they had successfully captured. The animal was securely tied with ropes and carried in turns across the grasslands, rocky outcrops, and sparse woodland along familiar trails. Throughout the journey back, everyone remained alert for dangerous predators. Upon reaching the camp, the wild boar was placed in the food preparation area, ready for the tribe's meal. Back at the camp, the tribe began preparing the freshly hunted wild boar. The meat was divided into several portions, with some placed into clay pots to cook with water while the rest was skewered on wooden sticks and roasted over the fire. Everyone took turns adding firewood, adjusting the glowing coals, and turning the meat until it became evenly browned. Once the meal was ready, the tribe gathered together to enjoy the freshly cooked wild boar along with the roasted wild tubers prepared earlier. As they ate, they talked about the day's hunt and shared valuable experience for future expeditions. The savannah gradually returned to its peaceful rhythm, bringing another day of hunting and tribal life in the vast wilderness to a close.
Dawn gradually spread across the vast savanna and sparse woodland with the gentle light of a new day. A herd of antelope slowly moved across the open grasslands in search of food, constantly lifting their heads to watch their surroundings before moving forward. From time to time, the herd paused briefly before continuing in small groups through the quiet landscape. At the nearby camp, the indigenous tribe also woke early to prepare for the day's hunt. Everyone checked their bows, arrows, knives, and ropes, making sure all the equipment was ready for the journey ahead. After completing every preparation, the group quietly left the camp and headed into the savannah, beginning another hunting expedition across the vast wilderness. The indigenous group crossed wide grasslands and sparse forests, carefully observing every animal track on the ground as they traveled. Upon reaching a small water source, they stopped briefly to rest, taking turns drinking water and washing their faces before continuing their journey. After a short break, they ventured deeper into the savannah. Not long afterward, from a considerable distance, they spotted a lion silently stalking a herd of antelope grazing across the grassland. Moments later, the lion suddenly charged, causing the entire herd to scatter in every direction. After a brief chase, it brought down one antelope and began feeding, while the indigenous hunters quietly watched the entire scene from a safe distance. After the lion successfully made its kill, it remained on the grassland, feeding on its prey. Taking advantage of the lion's complete focus on its meal, the indigenous hunters silently split into several directions, using the tall grass as cover to reduce the distance. Once they were close enough, one hunter quickly drew his bow and fired the first arrow. Startled by the sudden attack, the lion immediately sprang to its feet and sprinted across the savanna in search of an escape route. The hunters pursued while continuously firing additional arrows. After being struck several times, the lion gradually weakened, collapsed in the open grassland, and was finally subdued. After subduing the lion, the indigenous group continued following the direction in which the antelope herd had fled earlier. By tracking the footprints left in the soil and the disturbed patches of grass, they soon located the herd moving across another open stretch of savanna. One adult antelope gradually became separated from the herd while crossing an area with fewer trees. Taking advantage of the surrounding bushes, the hunters quietly approached from several directions. Once they were close enough, a well-aimed arrow was released toward the target. The antelope fled, but was struck by several more arrows, gradually lost its strength, collapsed, and was quickly secured by the group. After completing the hunt, the indigenous hunters prepared to carry the antelope back to camp. The animal was securely tied with ropes to make transportation easier over the long journey. The group took turns carrying the antelope along familiar trails that crossed grasslands, rocky areas, and sparse forests. Throughout the trip, everyone remained alert, constantly watching the surroundings to ensure their safety and avoid any predators that might suddenly appear. After traveling for some time, the tribe's huts gradually came into view. The hunters quickly brought the antelope back to camp, where preparations for the evening meal began. Back at the camp, the tribe began butchering the antelope they had hunted. The meat was cut into several portions, with some placed into clay pots to cook with water, while the remaining pieces were skewered onto wooden sticks and roasted over the fire. Everyone took turns adding firewood, adjusting the hot coals, and turning the meat until it was evenly cooked. The aroma of the roasting meat soon spread throughout the camp. Once the meal was ready, the tribe gathered together to enjoy the reward of a long day of hunting. After eating, they carried the remaining meat and bones to the hunting dogs so they too could share in the success of the day's hunt. Life across the vast wilderness gradually settled into peace once again, bringing another day of work, hunting, and tribal life to a close.
across the vast savannas of northern Tanzania. The Hadzabe still maintain a hunter-gatherer way of life that has changed very little from that of their ancestors tens of thousands of years ago. Each day begins with a journey into the wild in search of food. Yet what has helped this small community survive through countless generations is not only their hunting skills or their ability to recognize edible plants in the forest. More importantly, it is the way they share everything they have with those around them. Today, we will follow the Hadzabe and discover how this tribe continues to preserve an ancient way of life in the heart of the wild. In the harsh lands of Africa, the Hadzabe survive through strong unity and a deep spirit of sharing. Before the sun rises high, the men begin preparing for the hunt. They check their bows, adjust the strings, and inspect handmade arrows crafted from hardwood with small metal tips. Every movement carries knowledge passed down through generations. When hunting large animals, the arrowheads are often coated with a small amount of poison taken from native plants or insects. This poison does not bring the animal down immediately. Instead, it weakens the prey slowly over time, allowing the hunters to calmly follow its tracks rather than risk a dangerous face-to-face confrontation. Once everything is ready, the group quietly leave the camp and disappears into thorny bushes. Another day of survival begins. Before long, they spot the first signs on the ground. Fresh tracks are clearly marked in the soft soil, alongside patches of earth that have just been dug up. The Hadzabe immediately slowed down, bending close to study every small detail before moving forward. The distance between them and the animal grows shorter. Behind the low thorn bushes, a wild boar is quietly searching for food. The hunters quickly spread out, silently narrowing its escape routes. No one speaks. Every movement is guided by eye contact and familiar hand gestures. One hunter slowly draws his bow, holds still for a few seconds, and releases the arrow. Struck by the shot, the wild boar instantly charges through the dry grass. The Hadzabe understand that a wounded animal is often more dangerous than a healthy one. So instead of rushing after it, they calmly study the deep tracks in the dirt and the broken branches along its path. After following the trail for some distance, the poison on the arrow begins to take effect. The animal gradually weakens, then finally collapses in the grassland. The first hunt of the day has succeeded. Instead of carrying the whole animal back to camp, the Hadzabe usually process it on the spot. The internal organs are removed, and the meat is cut into pieces small enough to carry easily. Nearby, a small fire is quickly started. Some of the meat is placed directly over the hot coals to roast, while the rest is prepared for cooking in a pot. What makes this moment special is that the first pieces of meat do not belong only to the hunter who hit the target. Everyone sits together, shares the food, and eats right where the hunt has ended. For the Hadzabe, success is never the achievement of one person alone. The tracker, the watcher, the helper, and the archer all contribute to the shared meal. That is why food is shared from the very first bite. Leaving the hunting area, the group continues deeper into forest to search for another food source the Hadzabe deeply value. In front of a large ancient tree, they stop and inspect the hollow inside the trunk. One hunter lights a bundle of dry grass and gently directs the smoke into the opening to calm the bees. After patiently waiting, he slowly reaches inside and pulls out golden honeycombs dripping with fresh honey. The honey is carefully collected in the small bucket they brought along. For the Hadzabe, honey is a valuable source of energy, helping them quickly recover after hours of walking under the sun. But just like the meat they hunt, the honey does not belong only to the person who found it. When they return to camp, it will be shared with relatives, children, and the entire community. I spent a few days living with the Hadzabe people near Lake Eyasi in northern Tanzania. There was no fixed travel schedule here, and no clear plan for what each day would bring. Everything moved according to the natural rhythm of life. As the sun began to rise above the horizon, a few men quietly stood up, carrying bows, arrows, small knives, and long wooden sticks sharpened at the tips. No one told me where we were going, what we would hunt, or when we would return. They simply walked into the forest, and I followed behind. On this dry land, the forest is not a place for adventure or exploration, as many outsiders might imagine. For the Hadzabe, the forest is life itself. It gives them food, water, energy, and the knowledge they need to survive. Every footprint, every broken branch, every small sound in the bushes can carry a meaning. They do not need maps or modern equipment, because the experience passed down through generations has taught them to read nature as if it were part of their own bodies. As we moved through an area of low bushes mixed with tall trees, one of the men suddenly signaled for everyone to stop. He raised his head, studied the canopy ahead, then quietly pointed toward a patch of thick brush in the distance. At first, I saw nothing unusual, but a few seconds later, several small shadows began to appear between the branches. It was a troop of monkeys moving quickly from tree to tree, one after another, almost blending into the colors of the leaves and dry trunks. No one rushed. The men lowered their bodies, kept their distance, and exchanged quick glances along with soft clicking sounds in their language. They were not aiming at the whole troop, but patiently watching for one monkey that moved slower and separated from the group for a brief moment. Every movement was calm, precise, and almost wordless. The hunters slowly raised their bows, their eyes fixed on the treetops. An arrow shot forward, cutting through the quiet morning air. The monkey panicked and tried to cling to the branch, but after only a few seconds, it fell onto the dry leaves below. The men moved toward it immediately, but remained careful until they were sure everything was over. There was no cheering, no excessive excitement, and no sense of victory as if this were a hunt performed for show. To them, this was not a trophy to boast about. It was simply food the forest had given them that day. After walking a little farther, we stopped in a small clearing and prepared the monkey right there in the forest. They built a small fire from dry branches, then quickly cleaned the animal with the knife they had brought. Some pieces of meat were placed directly on the hot coals. Before long, the smell of roasted meat began to spread through the air. When it was cooked, they cut it into smaller pieces and shared it together. The meat was divided evenly among everyone. No one ate first, and no one kept the best piece of themselves. Here, a meal is not only a way to fill the stomach, but also a way to strengthen the community. Everything taken from a forest is shared, because one person's survival is always connected to the survival of the whole group. As I watched them gather around the fire, I realized that what makes the Hadzabe so remarkable is not only that they still hunt and gather as their ancestors did thousands of years ago. What matters even more is the way they live in harmony with the world around them. They do not store too much food, carry many possessions, or try to control nature the way modern people often do. Instead, they rely on a deep understanding of the forest, knowing when to take, when to stop, and when to let life continue growing. The forest feeds them, and by respecting it, they help keep that source of life alive.
As dawn broke over the northern Tanzanian savanna, the first rays of sunlight spread across the dry grasses and the low trees surrounding the Hadzabe camp. The morning air was still chilly, but quiet movements had already begun throughout the camp. A group of hunters started preparing their bows and arrows, small knives, and several long sticks that had been carefully selected the night before. Today, they were not searching for familiar prey, such as birds or small game. Fresh tracks discovered near a foraging area suggested that a large python was hiding not far from the camp. To the Hadzabe, a python is never an animal to be taken lightly. It has no venom and does not charge like many predators. But the strength of its long, muscular body is enough to make even the most experienced hunter proceed with caution. After leaving the camp, the hunting party moved deep into the tall grass. The lead hunter crouched low, carefully studying every drag mark across the soil, every patch of flattened grass, and every small broken branch scattered along the ground. To an outsider, these signs would have been easy to overlook. But to the Hadzabe, they were the language of nature. A faint trail across the sand, a disturbed layer of dry leaves, or even dust clinging to the trunk of a tree could reveal that the python had passed through only a short time before. As they drew closer to the dense vegetation, the group became even quieter. They no longer walked in a single line, but spread out in a wide arc, keeping a safe distance from one another to observe the surroundings more effectively. No one spoke aloud. They communicated only through hand signals, eye contact, and the slightest movements. Every decision was made with complete focus. The final trail led them to a shaded area beneath a cluster of low bushes. The ground there was cooler, covered with thick layers of dry leaves, and marked by several gaps wide enough for a large python to conceal itself. One hunter gently pushed the grass aside with the tip of his stick. Instantly, the group spotted the python's coiled body beneath the shade, almost perfectly blending into the earth and the fallen leaves. No one rushed forward. They knew the most dangerous part was its head, and unless it was controlled properly, the snake could react with remarkable speed. The oldest hunter signaled for everyone to step back half a pace. One man positioned a long stick in front of the python, while another prepared a sturdy vine that had already been tightly twisted into a strong rope. They moved slowly, careful not to corner the python too aggressively and risk provoking it. As the snake began to glide out from the bushes, the hunter holding the stick immediately redirected its attention to one side. At the same moment, another hunter quietly approached from behind, maintaining a safe distance while waiting for the right opportunity. The decisive moment unfolded in just seconds, yet every movement remained carefully controlled. As the python's head was gently pinned toward the ground with a long stick, the others immediately worked together to secure different sections of its powerful body. No one tried to handle the task alone. Each hunter held a specific position, applying only enough force to keep the snake under control while avoiding unnecessary struggle. After several tense minutes, the python was moved into a more open area where the flat ground allowed the group to manage it more safely. As the hunt came to an end, the tension gradually gave way to relief. The hunters did not celebrate with loud cheers. They simply looked at one another and nodded, quietly acknowledging that patience and teamwork had carried them through the challenge. The large python was then brought back to the camp, where everyone began preparing the meal. Some gathered firewood and lit the cooking fire. Others cleaned the hunting tools, while the elders sat nearby, recounting every track they had followed and every decision made throughout the hunt. As the cooking smoke drifted through the camp, the aroma of roasted meat blended with the scent of dry firewood and filled the air. The meat was shared equally among the families, and no one was left behind. To the Hadzabe, the success of a hunt does not belong solely to the person who catches the prey. It belongs to the entire community. Young children sat beside the fire, listening intently to stories about tracking animals, staying calm under pressure, and showing respect for every living creature on the savannah. As evening settled over the camp, daily life gradually returned to normal. Some people continued repairing their bows and arrows. The women gathered more firewood, and the children played among the bushes near the camp. That day's python hunt had brought back more than just food. It also reaffirmed a lesson passed down through countless generations. In the wild, people survive not through recklessness, but through careful observation, unity, and a deep understanding of the land they call home. It is this very spirit that has enabled the Hadzabe to preserve their hunter-gatherer way of life on the Tanzanian savannah for thousands of years.
Beta bang